We'll now turn to member questions. As the chair, I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Haller, the Indianapolis Housing Authority was designated by HUD as a troubled PHA and later taken over by HUD. Can you please describe, beyond what you stated in your opening testimony, some of the conditions at IHA when it was designated as troubled?
I believe thank you for the question, Congressman. I believe the question relates to how IHA initially came into the federal takeover. At that time, that was actually in April of 2024, so we were a year and a half into our investigation into the circumstances at Lugar Tower Apartments. We are also receiving lots of complaints related to other properties maintained by IHA. We had a distinct focus on Lugar Tower because that's a tower that it's a very prominent place in downtown Indianapolis, a very fast-growing area, and residents had been complaining. There have been news reports for many months related to the conditions there. I mean, what we observed when we first went in there was pretty disheartening. There were clearly people in the building that weren't supposed to be there, harassing tenants. We actually found that many of the trespassers actually were using the stairwells as bathrooms. And so the conditions at that property have been, since that time, very disruptive to the lives of tenants there.
Have the conditions improved over the last year?
That is it's a difficult question to answer because there's been some marginal improvement, certainly recently when we visited that particular building. And we have had productive discussions with IHA's new leadership and with HUD, who's working with them to turn around the agency. But I think one of the lessons we've learned there is that that help really should have come many years ago.
I agree. What are you putting into place now to improve that situation? What's being put into place?
Sure. So right now we actually have a second settlement agreement we've signed with the new owner of the property, which has more public transparency to it. So they have to report to us certain security incidents within 48 hours. They have to give us a monthly written report, which we can file publicly. We can do 12 unannounced inspections as well as regular inspections.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Schwartz, NYCHA is a prime example of fraud of PHAs with, as you stated, 70 former officials convicted of corruption-related offensive last year. Can you describe at a high level, or any way you'd like, actually, the corruption schemes that occurred at NYCHA and the level of sophistication or unsophisticated?
Yes, thank you. The 70 cases that were brought were really at a rather low level of NYCHA personnel, but at a level that was the closest to the residents. And so the residents were directly hurt by the bribery that occurred. NYCHA had not done anything to really examine, inspect, and have oversight over this problem. They did nothing to see whether the work that was being approved really met the quality requirements. So as I said, this is something that really hurt the residents in their homes.
Sure. If you can, with your experience and background, maybe provide us, perhaps in writing, if you wouldn't mind, some best practices that you feel would improve those such PHAs. I don't have time for the answer now, sir, but if you would be so kind to do that.
I do have a couple of thoughts, and it's not just for PHAs, it's for companies, it's for a lot of organizations I work with, and that is to create a culture where there is integrity and there's respect for the work that you do, and that you are trained to do the work that you're supposed to do. There's a lack of training. We made great strides once we brought in private sector people who were teaching NYCHA employees how to do their work.
Right. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Ozendick, Nick, my apologies. When What reason did HUD stop reporting improper payments? There was, during your time at HUD, we would submit its estimate of improper payments annually, and then HUD has ceased doing that. I'm out of time, so I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind, we could concur on that afterwards or provide it in writing.